Hey y'all, it's Michael. It's a little bit over halfway through the year now, and one of my favorite lists that I've always look for in publications is best blank book of the year so far. And I always enjoy these type of lists personally for me because majority of the books that's always on those lists are already out. And they're available at the library like very easily, and just because since they're more of a backlist title, most of the people already have read it, or like they're still, it's like the list for them is not that long. I saw an article for Time's best nonfiction of the year, so I thought I just picked two of those, and I saw that at the library, so I was like, sure, why not? So this will be a video about two nonfiction books. All right, the first one is Charged: The New Movement to Transform American Prosecution and End Mass Incarceration by Emily Bezalon. I saw this one because I'm always interested in things with like the justice system, especially the people who are like incarcerated and like the process of dealing with that. I listen to like a lot of podcasts, like true crime podcasts, but then I also like listen to a lot of like one talking about the justices and the process of what happens. Procedural podcast, if that makes sense, like about the process of like the justice system. So I thought this would be really interesting. So we'll see how that goes. The one that I am going to read first before that one is an uninhabitable, oh my god, I cannot say that word, Earth, Life After Warming by David Wallace Wells. Okay, so this is gonna be like a tongue twister because first off, uninhabitable. Okay, that's a hard word for me to say. But also, David Wallace Wells, his name is so close to David Foster Wallace that I just want to say that. But this is about global warming. It seems very interesting. I saw this cover and I was like, ooh, it just has this poor little bee right here. So I thought that I would check it out. So what I'll do is similar to my reviews that I do of these. I'll let y'all know probably a like first reaction, probably most in the middle since these are nonfiction to absorb everything, and at the end I'll do my overall thoughts. So yeah, let's go. All right, I want to make a quick statement before I reach the halfway point of this book, just because also I'm on the chapter about wildfires, and this was published in the beginning of 2019, like in the first half of 2019. He makes a comment on here. He says, at present, the trees of the Amazon take in a quarter of all the carbon absorbed by the planet's forest each year. But in 2018, Jair Bolsonaro was elected president of Brazil, promising to open the rainforest to development, which is to say, deforestation. How much damage can one person do to the planet? Woo! A group of Brazilian scientists has estimated that between 2021 and 2030, Bolsonaro's deforestation will release the equivalent of, okay, yeah. So, bruh, I was reading it. I was like, oh my god, isn't that crazy? Wild, bruh, wild. The second reprinting of this, it's like he probably should put like, let me just amend that right quick. So I'm on page 94 now. So I'm close to the 100-page mark. So I thought I would give you guys my initial thought essentially before I finish it, because I'm about to. This surprisingly reads really fast. So first off, this is very what's the word I want to use? Verbose. It is really dense. Wallace Wells provides so much data. It is one of those nonfiction where it's throwing the reader so much like information, like go. And I don't mind it as much. I expected that going into this since it's very science-based. So I knew there was going to be a lot of stats and figures. Well, not figures, but so much information in that regard. I do wish, and I don't know, this might come at a later date, but so far the first part is like an introduction. The second part, which I'm at right now, is called Elements of Chaos, and so he's breaking down the different things that global warming is affecting. So like there's things about, as you saw, about like forest fires. So there's about like heat, hunger, water, the elements basically of, I was gonna say Avatar: The Last Airbender, but all the elements and whatnot. And there seems to be even more as I'm going down. I am hoping that I want, personally for me, I want more like heartfelt stories, because this might sound really I don't know. I don't want it to sound very I don't want it to sound detached, because I understand all of these horrible things happening dealing with global warming and climate change and whatnot, but I wish that Wallace Wells did provide more like personal stories. I wish he interviewed. I don't know. Maybe the later section will provide that. But as of right now, I wish there were more personal stories. That's me coming from my fiction mentality. But I really do wish there was more of that. Now the stats is crazy. Like look at all these notes. Did finally finish The Uninhabitable Earth: Life After Warming by David Wallace Wells. Overall, I was really on the fence about this. I gave this 3 stars out of 5 on Goodreads. Personal thing for me, personally wise, balancing act on my thoughts on the book. Wallace Wells essentially wrote an article which became this book about global warming, and from the first sentence, it is really bad. The first sentence is, "It is worse, much worse than you think." And with all the evidence that he provides on global warming, I believe it's true. My favorite thing about this is that it's like so fact heavy, so much science, and just so much proof of the things that global warming is doing to our planet right now. I really do enjoy the way that it's also broken up, where it has these essentially like 4 sections. Well, yeah, 4 sections. And my favorite part is definitely the elements of chaos, where he's breaking down the consequences of global warming, not only just like the physicality, but like some of these are really interesting. It's kind of like how money has an effect on global warming and like the economies of that. I thought that chapter was really fascinating. So I was like, oh, this is really interesting. There is like a plethora of resources, especially in the back. It's just like resources upon resources upon resources. I think my main issue with this is I don't okay, so this is me, as I mentioned before, coming from a fiction perspective, because I love fiction and I don't read a lot of nonfiction. Is I don't really know who is the target audience of this. And I say this because I think one of the main things with global warming, personally for me, is presenting it to people who don't believe that it's happening. And they would never pick up this book. That's the truth of it. A person who doesn't believe in global warming will most likely never read this, or like read the whole thing essentially, because it's written in a way that's very fact heavy. Like the tone of it is so straightforward that I don't want to say that it's not engaging, because for me it was engaging, because I love the science aspect of that. So for me that was engaging. And for a person like your average non-science person who does believe that global warming is happening and they want to find out more about it, I think the tone of this, and like, I don't want to say readability, because that's just a thing, but this is written in a way that seems almost, I don't know what the right word is. It doesn't seem very approachable, if that makes any sense. I don't know, because this is like one of those personal experiences for me. Like when I read other nonfiction that I really enjoy, a lot of it has more of a narrative story to it. And I personally, for me, I really do enjoy that type of nonfiction. And so I'm also looking at this from a literary perspective, not only as a science perspective, because the science of this is actually really great, but I also have to look at it from a literary perspective, because those are the type of literature that I consume. Recommending this for like an average reader, or like someone who is interested in reading more on global warming, I would be very hesitant to recommend this, because it doesn't have that like that you know what it is, that mass market appeal to it. But I think it is one of those things where I think you should give it a shot. If anything, bring it from the library and see how you feel about it, because the information on this is actually really really interesting, and I learned a lot. If anything from it, I learned a lot, and it is very dire. It's very scary reading it. Like it's almost like post-apocalyptic feeling to it. So after that, I picked up Charged: The New Movement to Transform American Prosecution and End Mass Incarceration by Emily Bazelon. So I already read, I'm actually a little bit over halfway point of this. So I'm gonna let this camera cool down a bit before I give you guys my halfway thoughts about this, because I have a lot of thoughts. This is so good. I am enjoying this so much. It is incredibly riveting. Like, I am glued to it at this point. So this is about district attorneys and how the justice system has this intricate system dealing with district attorneys and all the things that's going on around it. And I think what I'm enjoying the most about this is how Bazalon presents all this information to the reader. Okay, so we follow two people, Kevin and Nora. Both of them are involved in a crime. Kevin is involved with a gun and a policeman, and then Nora is involved with an alleged murdering of her mom. It is so incredible, and I'm really happy that Bazalon chooses this format. Like, the format wise, it is great. It makes it almost like a TV show. Like, that's how it's unfolding, and it is so fascinating because that's how I feel as when I'm reading it. It's like a TV show, and each chapter is like an episode. And how Bazalon sets this up is that we follow these two people as they go through the criminal process, but during that time, Bazalon would also interject like information about the justice system, things about like how district attorneys are chosen, the history behind these district attorneys, and how the system is really unbalanced in a way, because some of the people, depending on the situation, how people can really misuse the system. And I think it is so fascinating. And all the stats, I love how the stats are really blending in with these two stories, because if you think about it, it presents this really palatable and mass appeal, like, of the justice system that essentially like anyone can read, but it's just so riveting. And it's really interesting following these two people within the justice system, seeing how it's going to unfold, because especially with Nora's story, oh my gosh, hers like it has so many turns, and I'm at the point where right now, because there's two parts essentially to it, and I'm at the second part right now, and it's so riveting. Like, y'all, when I'm telling you, it is like it's like a true crime TV show unfolding. It is really fascinating. So after I finished reading this, I was editing the video to get all the clips together and whatnot. And on the previous clip, I was just like, you know what? My stance holds true. I love this. I gave this 5 stars on Goodreads. I love it. This is one of my favorite books that I read this year. I thought, first off, it's structured so well. I think that's my favorite aspect about it. And I think with that structure, it helps the story and the storytelling really like have this momentum, and it keeps pushing. And I loved all the information that is presented. I thought it was such an insightful read. I learned, which is always great when these nonfiction, is that obviously I learned, but I just thought it was a really interesting look at how district attorneys, especially within the U.S. Justice system, has this perspective. And I thought that this book really put a stamp on like how I myself now, like personally for me, really view DAs in a different kind of way. Like, and it's really interesting. I wouldn't say it has a negative effect. I think it just, for me, it has a different perspective and like different, like a layered meaning to it. The stories with Kevin and Nora, I thought was so interesting and fascinating, and I really hope for the best of them. I feel as though like Bazalon didn't pick a side. If anything, it feels as though, personally for me, that she was very neutral and stated the facts, but also I kind of felt as though it was she has like a rapport and like a sort of attachment to Nora and Kevin, probably because she's been with them and talking to all these people about them. So I thought that was like a really, this is how I felt. But I thought it was like fair, and the journalism I thought was like very just like fair. So I really enjoyed that. So yeah, if you read this, let me know what you thought about it. I would love to hear your thoughts. So yeah, until then, I'll see you guys some next time. Bye. Oh, also probably the next 2 nonfiction book reviews that you'll see will probably have to deal with in conjunction with Nonfiction November. So check that out whenever it comes.